Okay, in this lesson we are going to review linear pair and vertical angles. Okay, linear pair, just to review, are two adjacent supplementary angles. Adjacent, remember, means next to. Supplementary is 180 degrees, whose non-common sides are opposite rays. So if I have two angles, A and B, the non-common side are opposite rays. So A plus B is going to be equal to 180 degrees. They are adjacent to each other and they are supplementary. Vertical angles are congruent angles whose sides form opposite rays. So basically you have two intersecting lines, and if I look at this line, T, I'm going to say TR, it forms an opposite ray with TN. And then if I look at the TP, should have used a different color. If I look at TP, it forms an opposite ray with TL. So the vertical angles, think of them as arrows pointing to each other. So here's a pair of vertical angles. They are vertical to each other. So you have A and B are vertical. So A is going to be congruent to B as well. And C and D, they are vertical to each other. They are pointing towards each other. So we're going to call this C and D. So C is going to be congruent to D as well. So you have linear pair, supplementary, vertical angles are congruent. Okay, before we go to talk about some equations, how many, when you have two intersecting lines, how many linear pairs do you have? Well, you're going to have four. So think of this as 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one. There are four linear pairs. So in essence, you're going to have four equations when you see two intersecting lines. Okay, yes, these are not lines, they're segments. But when you have lines, segments, rays that intersect, you're going to have four sets of linear pairs. Now, whenever you see two intersecting lines, you need to be conditioned in your head to come up with 7 equations. There are 4 from linear pair, and there are 2 from vertical angles, and then there's one more. So if I want to look at this, let's look at our linear pair, and we said there are 4 of them. So from this figure, I have A plus D is going to be 180 degrees. A and D are a linear pair, so they are supplementary. Their sum is going to be 180 degrees. The same thing with A plus B. They're supplementary. They have to add up to equal 180 degrees. B plus C is a linear pair. They are supplementary. And D plus C equals 180 degrees. Now, that is my 4 that deal with linear pair. I have 2 that are vertical. So you have vertical angles. You have 2. And they are going to be congruent. So you're going to have D is congruent to B. And you're also going to have A is congruent to C. The last one is we have all the angles create a circle. So we have one circle, which is going to give us the sum of all the angles, which is going to be A plus B plus C plus D equals 360 degrees. Now, how does this help us? Well, if I have a situation like this, and I ask you to solve for x, solve for y. Okay, y is going to be easy, but I still want you to write the 7 equations. What are the 7 equations that I can write dealing with this? Well, if I start with vertical angles, there are 2 of them. I have 168 degrees is vertical, so therefore it's congruent to y. I also have x, which is vertical to 5x minus 48. Then I have my 4 that are a linear pair. So that means that x plus 168 is going to be equal to 180 degrees. I also have x plus y is going to be equal to 180 degrees. We have 168 plus 5x minus 48 is going to be equal to 180 degrees. And then my last one for linear pair is going to be 5x minus 48 plus 168 is equal to 180 degrees. And then my last one that deals with my circle, I'm going to write even though we're not going to use it, but I still want you to get in the habit of thinking about this equation. You're going to have x plus y plus 5x minus 48 plus 168 is equal to 360 degrees. So now, which equation do I want to use to actually solve for x and y? Well, y is easy. It was already solved for by the first equation. So y we have. But I didn't have to use y. I could have used, I did not have to use that equation. I could have solved for x and then plugged it in, but then, you know, you're doing more work. So to solve for x, I have several options. I can use this equation here, or I can use this equation here. X plus 168 equals 180. I can use 168 plus 5x minus 48 equals 180, this one here. But the easiest one I think to use is this one. So I'm going to subtract 168 from both sides, and I'm going to get x is equal to 12. Now, it shouldn't matter which equation you choose. They will all give you y equals 168 and x is equal to 12. So if you want to try, how about we try this one here to solve for x. So I get x equals 5x minus 48. If I minus 5x on both sides, I get negative 4x equals negative 48. Divide by negative 4, and x is equal to positive 12. So it doesn't matter, I still got the same answer, more steps, same answer. Excuse me. Okay, next equation. Solve for x, solve for y. Again, write the 7 equations. Yes, I want you to write them. So for vertical angles, I have 2. And they are going to be 64 is equal to 48 plus x. Also, we're going to have 8y plus 36 is equal to 14y minus 24. And then for a linear pair, there are 4 of them. So we are going to have 8y plus 36 plus 48 plus x equals 180. We have 64 plus 8y plus 36 equals 180. We also have 64 plus 14y minus 24 equals 180. And the last one is going to be 14y minus 24 plus 48 plus x equals 180. And then the last one for my circle is going to be, you have one of them, which is going to be 64 plus 14y minus 24 plus 48 plus x plus 8y plus 36 is equal to 360. Now, if I wanted you to solve for x and y, which one of these equations am I going to choose? Well, for x, I'm going to do the vertical angle. So 64 equals 48 plus x. If I minus 48, I'm going to get x is equal to 16. Then for y, well, I can use the vertical angles. I think I'm going to use this one. How about that? 64 plus 36 gives me 90. 8y plus, not 90, gives me 100 equals 180. 8y, you subtract 100 from both sides, you get 8y equals 80, divide by 8, and y is equal to 10. You could have chosen another equation to solve for x and y. Now, I didn't ask you to do this, but if I wanted to know what was the measure of each angle, well, you can do one of two things. Since this is already 64, it makes this really easy. This angle is also 64. We know that these two are a linear pair. Now I can plug y back into the equation, which is going to give me 8 times 10 plus 36, which would have given me 80 plus 36, which is 116. But I could have done 180 minus 64 as well and gotten 116. I'm going to do a couple more of these questions in part 2. So for part 2, I want you to set up your 7 equations and then go to part 2.